Welcome, Hudson Valley. This is Conor Walsh, host of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. This week on In Touch, we speak with Stephen Velichko from Peers Influence Peers Partnership. They're an amazing film company that is celebrating 30 years sharing stories of perseverance and strength. They teach and empower students and young adults how to create films from the ground up and give incredible hands-on filming experience. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Steve and myself here on In Touch. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We got a great episode for you guys today, and it's combining a number of loves of mine. It's taking content creating and artistry and mixing it with this really awesome mental health component and just great leadership, great growth here in the Hudson Valley. And I am so happy to be speaking with our guest today. From Peers Influence Peers Partnership, I have Steve Velichko. Steve, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me today.
I'm really excited to have you. We were able to connect. Actually, it's kind of funny how we connected, a bit different than some of our other guests. Gil, who works here in our promotions department, was the one who got me in touch with you in the first place. And it's awesome when we have people within the building who are growing and building and prospering, making these connections and helping to, unite everybody together. So thank you to Gil. Gil, if you're listening, appreciate you, dude. But
we love Gil at Peers Partnership too, an alumni for many years. Gil's the best.
Gil is so good, honestly. There's very few things digitally or promotions wise I haven't seen him be able to tackle yet. So seriously. But Steve, I really appreciate you being here, and I want to get into all the wonderful things going on with Peers Influence Peers Partnership. And the way we start off with a lot of these episodes, we ask just a general overview. So for anybody who's uninitiated, doesn't know what you guys do, what is Peers Influence Peers?
Fantastic question. I'm the acting president of the organization. The interesting thing about Peers is it really is a legacy company. I mean, we are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year.
Congrats.
Thanks. It's amazing to still be around. Thankfully, luckily, people still want to hear what we have to say, which is a blessing in of itself. But at this point, I've been involved for about 15 years. And the original founding members were Frank Reale, tragically passed away in 2020 from COVID, along with Buck Heller and Pat Cassio. And in their time, they started this program in 1993. And basically, they took Putnam County by storm and eventually Westchester County as well. And in a nutshell, Peers is a leadership training program that works with youth in the county, wherever we have, a contract or a project working. And we teach them public speaking skills. We teach them how to operate cameras, how to interview, how to direct, how to operate sound, how to set up lighting, basically how to create an original production, whether it's a documentary, a short film, sometimes a feature-length film, or a combination documentary drama or dramedies or what have you, or a public service announcement, commercials, any kind of media that someone will put in our hands, we will run with. It's special and different because we really are the only national program that actually teaches these young adults anywhere from college, high school, sometimes even middle school. And we ask the students, the interns, what's going on in your guys' lives? What's going on in school that no one's talking about? Obviously the issues change over the years. When we first started, it was drunk driving. Then, it turned into marijuana use, opioid abuse, domestic abuse, self-harm, depression. The list goes on and on, vaping,
Yeah.
But really, whatever they're going through, a lot of the times people don't want to address that there's an issue. If you don't address it, it's not real. We don't believe that. The issues are there and people are hurting whether or not they're being talked about. You can't break the cycle unless you address the problems head on. So we ask these kids, what's going on? Let's learn about it. Let's talk about it. Let's start a conversation with the community amongst ourselves. And also, hence our name, Peers Influence Peers Partnership. Who is a young adult going to listen to?
Their friends.
They're friends. They're peers. They're not going to listen to me or, their principal or who would that authority figure. About certain things, obviously. But when it comes to real talk and really connecting with them, most of the time kids will shield themselves, go into this shell. They will respond and actually receive the message if it comes from someone their age, because it makes it real, makes it valid of, oh, You're walking through my shoes. You know what I'm going through. You're not removed or in a different stage of life. You get me. And that's really what the program is about, finding what young people are going through, how we can address it, how we can learn from it, and hopefully stop others from going through a potentially really painful and tragic road sometimes. So we love to tell other people's stories for the betterment of everyone.
As somebody who started in media, my very first introduction, of course, I did guitar lessons, and that was my intro into arts, but I got into sound at an early age. I started doing sound for the stuff in my school in middle school, and that translated into high school, and I was able to build through that. I did a lot of crew, sound managing, things along those lines. That got me into production, into college eventually, and hey, I wound up here. First of all, I just got to say, it's great to get somebody into crew, technical work, and production at an early age. If you have an interest in it, it's good to get into it early because then you can learn and grow with the trends.
Absolutely.
But then also from the leadership and confidence perspective, I think that is so key because I was able to learn so much of who I am through those experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the same could be said with a lot of the students that go through this. What's the age range where a lot of these students and young adults get into their journey through this?
Great question. I mean, I would say youngest kids usually they can come in between 12 to 13. Usually the majority of our folks will exit around 18 when they graduate high school. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we have plenty of folks that after high school, they still stay involved when they go into college, and some of them become, associate producers with us.
Wow.
And I mean, there have been a lot of alumni that have gone through our program. I mean, it has been 30 years, but, the biggest concentrated group is probably 14 to 18. But we have folks that are in their 30s that still come back.
Wow.
Because of how much of an impact that we've had on their career, on giving them those initial experiences in this industry. And like you said, the more time you have at an early age to be exposed to this world just opens doors for you much earlier. I mean, especially, and no disregard to college curriculum at all, but a lot of the times when you go to film school, you don't really ever get to handle the equipment until at least after your first year.
Yeah.
The very basics. For that, to know that our members have 4 or 5 years sometimes experience being a camera operator, being a sound technician, being a gaffer. I mean, all these experiences put them that much leg up on their competition. And it's a very big resume distinguisher when you're trying to go into any kind of, media field for study and work as well.
Now, I'm curious. You said you've been a part of this for about 15 years now. What was your introduction to this? You said this is a legacy program. Yeah. It's in the family. But, what was your inspiration to want to be a part of this, and how has that grown over time?
Great question. So, funny enough, one of the founders, Frank Reale, he had saw me in a local high school production, Putnam Valley High School, back in the day.
May I ask which?
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Really?
It was
a high school production?
It was a high school production. I was playing McMurphy, and
wow.
he saw my performance, and afterwards he said, "Hey, my name's Frank. I make movies, and I'd love to talk to you about, what we're doing. We have some productions coming up. We'd love for you to audition. And the best thing about this is the breakfast club of college and high school. Anyone and everyone joins this program from any walk of life. Anyone who's interested that just wants to be on a team and have fun, you found your place. So here, take my card, give me a ring, shoot me an email. I'd love to set up an audition because we do have some production starting up, in the next month or two." And then we kind of just hit the ground from there. That was in 2009. I went from being an intern and, talking about being introduced to just an industry. I mean, I had no interest at all in this industry when, this experience had happened. I was interested in high school theater works types of things, but I never thought of it as a career until, I was introduced to peers. And through the program, because we train all of our members for whatever they want to explore, I became an editor. I became a second assistant director, first assistant director, second unit director, learned how to cast. I became a writer. I started writing the programs for the scripts that we were going to shoot, and then eventually directing and everything, and acting. And it was really special just because Frank had actually given me the opportunity to write this original film. It was released in 2011, 2012. It's called Fine Lines. It back then we were still using local access channels. Talking about how time changes, right? I mean, back in those days, we shot on cassette tapes. They went on these big SD tapes or beta tapes that you'd send out to all of the TV stations, and then they would broadcast it. I mean, now it's so different, you know. Everything's streamed.
Yep.
But you know, to have someone give me the opportunity at the time, I just had graduated high school. I was 18 years old. I wrote a TV movie. I starred in a TV movie. I assistant directed in that. I produced it. I learned every aspect, nuts to bolts, what it was like to create a movie. And none of my peers, pun intended, who weren't in the program with me could say the same. And it has forever changed the trajectory of my life. And the craziest thing about it is, you know, you also get exposed to a lot of messed up stuff, you know, because a lot of the times, I mean, you know, we're talking about dark and twisty content things. You're talking about depression, about abuse, about substance abuse, domestic abuse, whatever the problems are that people are going through, we want to hear their stories. And sometimes the things that you would hear that people would talk about, it breaks your heart to see that this person endured this story. It wasn't a story, it was their life.
Yeah.
And you can see just the pain and also the strength. You know, they made it through and they're brave enough to share it. And that is really where the magic comes in. Don't get me wrong. I love scripted dramas. I love comedy. I love feature films. Very special place, especially as an actor. Yeah. But when it comes to a documentary, when you really have someone that has a good story to tell, that's their life, there is no magic better than watching someone just tell their life and share their story, share their pain, their triumphs, their falls, getting back up, fighting, getting beaten down, trying again, seeing the struggle just to survive. I mean, you can't write that. No. Because that's the magic of life. That's the beauty of life. And getting both ends of the spectrum to see emotionally moving documentary pieces. If anyone has a chance, I would highly suggest checking out our piece called Chasing It and Chasing Life, 2013, 2014. You can buy it on a bunch of platforms. But, oh, man, that documentary, Chasing It, really had marked me especially. We went and interviewed, it was about opioid abuse, sadly.
Oh, wow.
And it was about this gentleman named Doug who lived in Putnam Valley, and his son had overdosed and passed away. But the differentiator for me was a lot of the time you see a drug addict who's talking about recovery. I mean, you could tell they've had a hard life, but they've also had to harden in order to survive that life. So there's a level of disconnect to talk about it. Sometimes they're, you know, really genuine in the moment, but a lot of the times there is a little bit of a disconnect. Anyone who goes through a trauma, you know, in order to navigate it. But this was talking to the father of someone that lost their son to that battle, and to see how it affects the family, how it can really just alter the course of an entire family. That was powerful. And it was actually from that piece, I'll never forget, we had our premiere, and in the audience, you know, someone found myself and Frank afterwards, and they presented themselves and they said, you know, I have a problem. I'm watching your guys' movie here, and I don't want this to be me. I don't want this to be my life, my family's life. I need help. And, you know, we're not professional therapists or anything like that, but we do know people that can help. Yeah. And so to be able to be there at the right time, at the right moment, to save this young man's life, essentially, was mind-blowing. And it just made you feel like, you know what, you know, maybe we're not winning Oscars, maybe we're not winning Emmy Awards and all these things, but we saved that one person's life. And there's been countless others, but for that day, you truly made a difference in the course of someone's life in a really positive way that wouldn't have happened if we didn't do this good work and fight this good fight.
Well, that's just the one person that came up to you from that. And as you said, there have been other times. But just think about the people who don't necessarily come up to you, but still feel it on the inside and then walk away feeling changed or start having those conversations with themselves to put them on a new path, whether it is from addiction, whether it is from depression or abuse or any of these other hard topics that you're talking about. There are a couple of things based on what you said I really want to touch on. But the first thing, where do you get your stories from? You said that you've written some things.
Right.
You said you have covered this father's story. Is it a mix of what the peers want to work on and you guys start creating, but then also you guys are handed these stories and it's like, hey, I have this, I want to be told, a story to be told, will you help me? And then you hop onto that. Is that how it works? How does the stories come to be?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, it's a kind of a hodgepodge of everything. No matter what, we always focus on what's the interest of our interns, because at the end of the day, this is it's like a breakfast club for them. I mean, we have our core values as an organization, but we, as much as we want to share the stories of those who come on, it's also to be that support center for who's actually participating in the program.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times the students that are working on the programs, they're writing or talking or interviewing someone about, a bad situation in their home or something, and they're actually quietly fighting that same battle in their private home life, and they're just not ready to talk about it. And so working on these projects, seeing others be brave and come forward, gives them the strength to say, you know what, I got a problem too. I got to work on this. I got to talk to someone about this. So it is a combination between what the students are, excited to focus on for that year, along with just trends on, what's happening in the world. Obviously, thank God, COVID is not anything like how it was in the full swing of it. But, COVID did a lot of changing to the mentality of young folks.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the attention span people have nowadays, just from literally being trapped in their homes for 2 years almost. People don't have the same attention span. After 5 to 15 seconds, they're gone. If you don't grab them right there, it's over. You lost them. So, the format of doing a 40-minute short film is not necessarily as impactful anymore as it was 5-10 years ago. So needing to figure out how to evolve to stay relevant and still whether change your target audience or re-grasp the target audience you want, being able to evolve. That is the fight, right?
Yeah.
But when we were doing that documentary about the father and son, that family, that was, mid 2010. So, back then, the opioid epidemic was full swing. It had taken over New York. There was a little bit, at one point, a little under 20% of some of the hardest narcotics for opioids in the world were centered in the Hudson Valley area.
Yeah. We've had a number of conversations with organizations in the last few weeks literally about this topic and how we are still in a really rough shape. Somebody said to me, Dutchess County is like number 2 for the state when it comes to overdoses. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
That includes the city.
New York City included.
That includes the city, and how Dutchess County is that high up there, if I'm getting that statistic right. But I'm pretty sure somebody just said that recently, and that just blew me away.
Well, you know what it is? It's simple. It's because when people are in the middle class or upper middle class, people do sports, they do physical things, and it's not the same for everyone, of course, but a good amount of people starts out with an injury.
Yeah.
They get an injury, they blow out their knee or their shoulder or something, and then, you go to the doctor. What do? Let me prescribe you some Percocet, some Vicodin, some oxycodone. And then, it's like a Band-Aid. It helps you get through that injury, but all of a sudden, wait a second, my injury's gone, but I need more of these drugs because now I'm starting to get addicted. And then all of a sudden it goes, from stealing from liquor, from, medicine cabinets at your home, at your friends, to buying it on the streets. And then eventually it is a lot cheaper to just sadly, switch to something more potent and easier to get, like heroin. But in general, something that you said that was really struck a chord with me was about even now in Dutchess County, this is still a huge problem. This is the thing. Domestic abuse, opioid abuse, any problem like this, the problems don't go away.
No.
That's the thing. We can talk about it, and I mean, that's great to address it, but sadly, the problems never really fully go away. For example, our focus changes for, maybe that year or 2 years for, what people are interested in that time for that phase of, whatever the trends are and everything. But people are still suffering at home, whether it's from their abusive partner or they're struggling against addiction, depression. I mean, the amount of people that are depressed in this country alone will blow your mind.
Depression rates right after COVID rose considerably. Fortunately, partly from the awareness and people started to actually look into it, but also how the culture of things really shifted everybody's mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the fact that the problems don't go away. So the idea is to shine a light on what is going on, start a conversation. But the biggest thing, it's not about just starting a conversation, but, I personally believe a lot of people don't want to talk about their problems because they feel like there's stigmas on them.
Yes.
They feel like it's a taboo thing or people are going to judge them or whatever. Every single person struggles with something. Everyone has something in their life that they would like to be in a better or a different place. It is no shame to talk about problems that are going on in your life. In fact, you should talk about your problems in your life, whether it's with a friend or if you have access to, some kind of a therapist or something, or in your family, a partner, whoever they are, but you need to express yourself because eventually those problems are just going to manifest more deeply if you don't try and figure them out. And the biggest message that we always say is it's okay not to be okay. Yes. And that's where it starts.
Yes.
You have to start from somewhere.
Yep.
You can't climb a whole ladder in three studs,
Absolutely not. But just the fact that you're out there and you're plugging away at these things really makes a huge difference. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We're speaking with Steve Velichko from Peers Influence Peers Partnership about the wonderful content that they've been creating for 30 years now and the way that they're influencing, the way that young people and just pretty much anybody addresses some very hard topics. And we only got a few minutes left, but before we wrap up and everything, you said something a moment ago. It's like, we're not winning Emmys, we're not winning Golden Globes, anything like that. You guys have won dozens of awards. I was looking through your website in so many, and there was one in particular that really stuck out to me that I really want to talk about. But you guys received the President of the United States Volunteer Service Award Gold Medal. How many other films or studios can say that? Can you tell us, what does it mean to have received this kind of award, and how that legacy has continued on in the years since?
Wonderful question. I definitely really appreciate the research you did in our organization. I mean, there have been a lot of accolades. There have been a lot of awards. Maybe not to the scale where normal people are aware of what they are, but we have had our successes, which cannot be dismissed. The thing though that has maybe been at our core is that awards sit on shelves. Certificates, they're nice to look at, but the thing that really is our biggest success has been the people that have gone through our program, where they've gone, what they've done, the impact that they continue to have in the world, the positive change, the people that will speak up, the people that will make the change happen. In our eyes, that is really the biggest honor and award of all, is all the people that we've been blessed to enter the program, build those lifelong relationships with, and just see them go out in life and really win. We're in the middle of a cocoon stage. For the last 30 years, we've been a humble, strong, prideful caterpillar going along our way, and now we're in this cocoon stage where the world's very different than it was in the 90s, 2000s. I mean, even the 2010s, things are just different. So we are in a metamorphosis, so to speak, of rebranding ourselves, refocusing on the kind of media that we're going to focus on, and kind of the general direction that we do want to pursue. With that said, I mean, like any nonprofit, we always struggle with fundraising and sponsors. If anyone believes in our message, believes in what we're doing, our mission to better the community through blunt, direct addressing the problems and having people talk about them, work on them. If anyone has any experience with fundraising or sponsorship, please reach out to us. We would love to see if we can work together. But also, you know, when it just goes about the impact and the accolades that you do, we just really want and hope that at the end of the day, whoever hears or sees our work, just know that you're not alone. Sometimes the biggest award is just being able to wake up in the morning and say, I was blessed today. I woke up today. That's the biggest award of all. So I really just can't thank you enough for talking with us and having us on. And thank you for appreciating the awesome work that we do. We hope to keep doing it for another 30 years.
I love it. And you better keep doing it because I want to keep seeing stuff get out there. So for those projects that are currently out there that people can watch, or if they just want to learn more about you guys, where can people go to get in touch with you and to watch and learn more?
Awesome question. So you can always visit our website, peerspartnership.org, and you can reach out to either myself or one of our producers. Our email contact information is on there. We have a general email for our company. We go by PIP, Peers, Influence Peers Partnership, PIPP. So pip@peerspartnership.org. And or you can always, through our website, you can look and find me, Steve, President. You can find me at svelichko@peerspartnership.org, or our general phone number, 845-216-3447.
And of course, all the links and information will be in the description of this episode, so you got it all together. You don't have to hunt. And I really recommend checking out their website because they have a number of their projects listed and linked on it that you can watch and you can find and you can enjoy all of these incredible stories. I think it's a great place to start. And as we've been saying, it gets the conversations going and hopefully continuing those conversations where they just don't stop there.
We want to be bigger.
Absolutely.
We've had our awards. We've had things that we've done well. But like you said, there is a big level of success. But we don't want to stop here. Yeah. We want it to get bigger. We want to be a national program. We have big ideas to have. I mean, now remote learning and remote participation is half of the workforce. So, you know, our current program that we're about to launch is actually going to be remote friendly for anyone that wants to join, free to join, free to participate. And anyone can join, I mean, technically from anywhere in the world, but we'll start with United States of America, specifically New York. But we do hope to garner a large online remote following program. This way we can really just kind of shake things up.
I think that's the best way of going about it. In a post-COVID world, I think that's definitely an awesome way in your metamorphosis, in your cocoon stage, to go forward into the next, the next chapter, the next chapter is probably the best say of what you're going with this. The next scene as well. The next scene. I like that. I was trying to find a good film reference, but that's fantastic. Steve, thank you so much for being here on In Touch. Again, all the links and information will be in the description of this episode. And please, for the love of God, check out some of these films. It's not like we can air the films here on In Touch, but you can check them out yourself and you can really change for the better. Again, Steve, thank you so much.
Thank you, Conor. Thank you for all your good work and for always shining a light on the hard work of everyone in the community. You are the best.
Appreciate you, dude. This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the award-winning public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to Steve Velichko. For more information on Peers Influence Peers Partnership, visit peerspartnership.org. For Steve Velichko, you can contact him at svelichko@peerspartnership.org or 845-216-3447. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. I've been your host, Conor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time